Welcome back. For some years, award-winning Australian band Paul Colman Trio was at the forefront of the local Christian music scene and toured around the world with Third Day and as a headline act. In 2004, PC3 announced they were taking a break, but in recent years, they've been playing together more often. David Gibbons caught up with Paul Colman, Phil Gordian and Grant Norsworthy just before they kicked off their 2011 tour.
Well, thanks for taking the time to have a chat with me.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Now, you've been popular all over the world, Europe, USA, as well as here in Australia.
Don't forget Canada, New Zealand, Tasmania.
Tasmania.
Everywhere.
Okay.
Have we been popular?
You've been on the charts.
Have we been
Christian
popular?
music charts all that time.
To some degree, we have been popular, yes, David. Thank you.
Yes.
Lesser or greater degree.
Our parents love it.
But you've been on again, off again, back in 2004 you decided to have enough and it was time to finish up and get over it all. And yet you're back together again. So are you on again or are you actually off again?
Grant very wisely suggested the pause button rather than the stop button. He thought that at some point we could unpause it, and he ended up being right.
It took 7 years, but yes. The band was together from 1998 until 2004. We did a farewell tour of Australia, but we were saying we were taking a break. We didn't know how long that break was going to be for. Easterfest, the Christian festival that's run up in Toowoomba, they invited us to come and play in 2009. We did that, and we were just blown away by how people remembered us, for one thing. We were thrilled by that people still seemed to have an appetite for the music and the message that we were presenting. Which we were thrilled by, right? We just loved that.
Very thrilled.
Thrilled. To overuse a word, thrilled. And
I was, just to interrupt, but I was thrilled.
What about you, Phil?
Very much so, thrilled.
Yeah.
Good. And then Easterfest invited us back in 2011, this year, and we thought, well, look, rather than just playing at Easterfest, let's see if we can release some new music and maybe do a tour of Australia, which is happening.
And a DVD.
OK, you said at the time that you broke up for family reasons. Phil, I mean, what was that all about?
Oh, I think touring and being constantly on the road is draining, whether you can be with your family or not, but it just wasn't practical to take our family on the road a lot of the time. So we had to be away from home and leave wives and kids behind. And I think I just realised after my kids almost didn't recognise me one time that this is costly. You know, we're paying a high price for being constantly out there on the road and sharing our faith in our music, but. So there's a thing to be weighed up, but I found it personally difficult to pay that cost constantly. Yeah, so it was time for a break, time for a change.
Okay, you've been involved with Christian music for decades, I guess. One form or another. I mean, Sonic Flood comes to mind. You remember that?
Yeah, I did about 3 years with Sonic Flood. That was fun.
Newsboys. You remember them?
No, block that out.
So, has Christian music changed over the decades?
Well, I think it certainly has. I mean, the whole music industry has had to reshape the way people are listening to music, reshaping the way people are purchasing music. So certainly there's been change there on a business level. And I guess, for want of a better term, this thing that we call Christian music has changed as well. Perhaps a little bit lagged in its response to different things in the world. But you know what? We in Paul Colman Trio don't really think of ourselves as being a Christian band. I don't know, we don't want to alienate anybody from our music. We consider ourselves people who are followers of Jesus, and we make the best music we possibly can. And because following Jesus is very important to each of us, then themes about God, about God's love for us, about the cross, these themes repeat themselves in our music in different ways, but not all the songs are necessarily about that. We'd like to think that we're three people who are following Jesus, making the best music we can, and anyone could like it.
Let me pick up on that, Paul. Let me ask you, with all the hubbub that comes with the music industry, the branding, the hit singles, the fans, the magazines, the radio, and all the rest of it. How do you keep your own level of spirituality during that time? I mean, how do you actually maintain a spiritual journey yourself?
Well, I think, let me start off by saying this. I think originally this idea of gospel music, which would just be music with lyrics set against the backdrop of your faith, wasn't really an industry. And then after a while, business people saw that it was profitable, and so they bought off the Christian record labels.
Okay.
And so I've always had a question as to whether you really can combine these things, truly. Not really sure you can. I don't know. I don't think I can very well. So I think we bailed out. We're now completely independent. We don't have a record label, management, anything. So like what Grant said, when we make our music, we're all followers of Jesus and we're all musicians. So what comes out is what comes out. This new record, Return, that we're just releasing on this tour, I mean, it's 11 different genres. I mean, some songs are pretty straight-up gospel songs. There's a song called Judge Judy about meeting her in an airport. I mean, it really is a very eclectic, musical, spiritual, emotional palette. But honestly, I don't even think about it. I don't think any of us think much about being musicians. I think we think about being fathers and husbands and followers of Jesus, and I think the music kind of takes care of itself. I think we think more about our character than about our gifts. So it's always, I think it's an incredible surprise to us. Like, I was listening to our record the other day, and I had a big smile. I was like, this is actually pretty good. Now, you know, it's not like I think it's the best record ever made. I know it's not the worst, because I made one of those early in the 90s. But I just really enjoyed it because it felt very honest. It felt very real. I know it was the best we could do. And it was the sound of the three of us belting it out in a room and singing about things that were important to us. Yeah. So I think we could play that record start to finish at a pub or a church, and I think it would make sense. And that's what we've always been all about.
And I think we're all aware of something, and this is encapsulated in my least favourite C.S. Lewis quote. My least favourite C.S. Lewis quote, probably my least favourite because I don't really want to hear this, but I need to. And it's this: every poet and musician, but for grace, is drawn away from the thing he tells to the love of the telling, until down in deep hell he cannot be interested in God at all, but only in what he says about him. And I think us three guys recognise that by being musicians...
Bass player.
By being musicians, we are actually wading into a river that, if left to our own devices, will be swept downstream, falling more and more in love with the music and the act of singing about God as we fall out of love with God himself. And what Phil was saying before about our wives and our kids, we recognise that what we do in the band is making music and enjoying our gifting and enjoying playing music for people. But our main ministry, the most important ministry that we are called to, is to love God and to love people. And the people that are closest to us are our wives and our kids.
So now that you're into your 40s, you're not really over it all.
Who's in their 40s?
I don't know.
Where'd you get that from?
You stopped counting years ago. Everyone's just grown older around
so I'll own up to my age. Go ahead, as you were.
So you're not 45. So you're not over it all. There's still a compelling, deep desire to do ministry through music.
Yeah, I think I feel younger than I did a decade ago. I feel like I'm a frozen chicken fillet in God's microwave. You know, I'm starting to get real juicy.
It's taken this long.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
Well, you might be just warming up, but it's time for us to go. Paul, Phil and Grant, thank you very much. I've been speaking with the Paul Colman Trio, PC3, and we'll see you after the break. Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah.